right, ball spot near right hash. This senior Noah Finsky, hip high snap to Williams, going deep down the field near right hash. Jay Jones wide open, makes the hip high grab for a touchdown. He streaks into the maroon end zone.
We are Southern Illinois.
Just high snap, fake to give the Lesser, going near side. Right now he's going to air it out of the corner of the end zone. Touchdown! Miles Marshall, his second career touchdown.
It's time for Saluki football.
Kalen trying to send it to overtime. Clark will hold. It's a 36-yard field goal try for the near right hash. Kalen awaits in the setting sun. Auburn awaits the snap. Snap is clean, hold is down, kick has plenty of leg. Paul Kalen splits the uprights with 2 seconds left and ties the game up at 34.
Now, here is the voice of the Salukis, Luke Martin.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Saluki Football Radio Podcast as we get you ready for the regular season finale for Saluki Football on Saturday against Illinois State. Typically, my partners join me, Pat Poor and Mike True. They got other assignments this week, at least from the podcast standpoint. They will be with us for our video preview that we do on Friday. So don't worry, Saluki Nation. You'll be able to hear from the coach, Pat Poor and Mike True, soon enough. But what a game it was on Saturday for a lot of different emotions, which we have no doubt really talked about all week long on our different platforms that we have with Saluki Football. Heartbreaker, 53-51 in 5 overtimes against South Dakota, but there were still tons of tremendous accomplishments within that game. Jay Jones is going to join us here on the podcast this week to recap what was just a spectacular senior day for him. And you're gutted for him and so many of those seniors that just couldn't get the storybook ending on Saturday against South Dakota, but they'll have an opportunity against Illinois State this weekend. The Redbirds have a ton to play for on Saturday. There's a chance that they could end up being a top 8 seed, but they can't get there without a win on Saturday against SIU. And here to talk about the Redbirds is going to be the head coach of Illinois State, Brock Spack. Really enjoyed catching up with Coach Spack this week, expanding our conversation from his days early in coaching, what still fires him, fuels him to this day to still be a head coach, as he's the longest tenured coach in the Missouri Valley Football Conference, which number 2 on that list is our guy, Nick Hill. Hard to believe the 2 longest tenured coaches will go at it this weekend in Bloomington, Illinois. And that's where we start our conversation with the head coach of the Redbirds, Brock Spack. Hard to believe that the 2 longest tenured coaches in the Missouri Valley Football Conference will be duking it out on Saturday. Brock Spack, though, holds that top spot right now at Illinois State, and he's our guest.
Yeah, I was going to say, Nick's kind of young to be part of that crowd. He's got, 20 more years to go, maybe. Poor guy. But, it's hard to believe I'm the oldest guy, but I am. I'm an old dude now. But I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I love it. So
tell me what is still ticking for you now that still has that burning passion all the way back to when you were a GA at Purdue?
Yeah, winning. I like to win, and the elusiveness. I'm sure Nick will play the same way. Is it is playing in the national tournament, that the playoffs and being able to play for a national championship. I think we did that in 2014, and that was a pretty cool experience. And I know you guys have won one down there back in '83. I was still playing that then. But it's there's nothing like that, and I still have a burning desire for that, and enjoy our players. We have a good group of guys I enjoy being around, and a good group and a great staff that makes things easy for me. So. It's just about I like competing, and it's fun to do that. Some people don't, but I love it.
Yeah, Coach Spack, when you think of all the way back when you started, when you finally, I think your first coordinator job was for Joe Tiller at Wyoming, what's something that you learned from Coach Tiller like day one early that still resonates today?
There's a lot I learned from him. I mean, he's kind of my guy. Coach Boo at Eastern was a quarterback coach for Purdue too, so he was very, very good as well. But Coach Tiller was kind of my guy. I learned not to ever go in and ask him to alter practice because that was a bad thing. He was going to let you have it. Like, I brought you up better than this. Get out of my office. Um, his patience and how to deal with people. He was really good with in people. His people skills are really, really good, and his timing on how he, how he did or how he reacted was impeccable. So he knew how to handle people. He knew how to manage people, and his timing on that, or timing on everything he did, was really um, on point. Um, he was really, really smart, obviously, but he's a really good football coach. But I think his ability to manage people, one, two, manage critical. He was a really good uh, uh, manager of crisis. If there was some type of crisis going on, or he would really be able, if you weren't playing really well, or whatever, he was really good in those scenarios. He knew what switches to turn on and turn off, based on what was going on around the program around him. Um, but I learned a lot about patience, and he's a very patient man. And I didn't have many, and he kind of taught me how to do that. And he was just a really good guy to work. I mean, I loved working for him. I would, if he was alive today, I probably still want to be working for him because I just enjoyed being around him. He's a man's man, great leader, just a really good dude, really good guy, and just was. If you didn't like Joe Tiller and you were a male football player and you didn't like him, there's something wrong with you, because he was just fun to be around. And from Toledo, he tell you I'm from a dead end street in Toledo, Ohio, and he's this old shucks darn guy, but he is a brilliant guy now, and he knew how to he just knew how to manage folks, and that's probably his forte and his legacy, because um, that's the thing you do as a head coach, and there's a lot more to it than just X and O's, and you have to know those. You have to understand have to understand the game, but which is very, very true. But you have to manage people, and there's a lot of people to manage. And in the times we've been involved in now, with everything that's gone on in college football the last 5 years, it's just been unbelievable. If he came back, and I had to talk to him right now, he said, "You're doing what? You're paying players? They can go anywhere they want to go." I How much your coach is making? I mean, would not believe you would not believe what is going on. I don't think he'd be too happy. I just put it that way, um, but he was he was really important in my development as a coach. He was really important, actually.
When you think of him as such an innovator when it comes to the offensive side of the football, and no doubt, no question, in his time, Coach Spack, when he was coming up as you were a young up and coming coach, if he was alive today, how much of a grin would be on his face to see what football looks like offensively now with so many teams and how they air it out?
It's funny you mentioned that, because he I went out to Wyoming. It was a spread offense, throwing the football all over the place, but we ran the ball out of one back. We threw it to run the ball. And that's what the spread kind of does, right? It spreads you out so you can run it, and people were everybody said, that's not going to work in the Big Ten. That's not going to work in the Big Ten because we get bad weather. Because you ever live in Wyoming in the Rocky Mountains? I mean, geez, because you guys got to come out and see what it's like out here. I mean, we had terrible weather. Wind blowing, snow. Up to your hips. But yeah, he was a very, very big innovator. But I would tell you, my first couple practices there, I never forget. And he looked at me and goes, "Man, this is some sissy football, isn't it? God, I bet you just can't stand this." And so I said, "It's a little different." He goes, "A little different." He goes, if he had his druthers, he loved the way Wisconsin and the way Iowa played. I mean, he loved that because he's an O-line coach, running inside zone, outside zone, power. That was, I mean, we ran inside, outside zone, and we ran a little power, but it was one back power. But we ran out of the one back, but today's standards, the way we ran the ball, then it would be like a power running game. Where today, based on today's standards, but back then it was nah. You don't do it that way. And but he did. This is what we had to do to win at Wyoming at Purdue. Purdue is known for the cradle quarterbacks, and we had a couple pretty good ones there. One named Breeze, and then Kyle Orton was awfully good as well. But and I played with, I don't know, I was around 4 Heisman Trophy finalists as a player and coach there.
Wow.
And it was, and they're all quarterbacks, of course. But you learn how important the quarterback play is, and at that place you had to throw it, to win. And ironically, the year we went to the Rose Bowl, we were third in the Big Ten in rushing, that's a statistic no one could really. And yeah, against Michigan that year, we had 300 yards rushing. And they go, really? Yeah, I wouldn't have believed it either. And that's when Breeze's senior year. So we could run the football, but it was more creative way, like you said, creative coach, and we found a way to run it, and had a great offensive staff and defensive, had a great staff there. It was just a lot of fun. Very similar to what I have now here. But yeah, he was just and he would allow you to, as a coach, to make mistakes. And like I remember one year, I don't can't remember. I made an adjustment in the coaching, the coaching assignments that year. Just some different stuff. And he said, "Okay, no problem." And at the end of the year, I came in and I said, "I didn't like that." And he looked at me and goes, "I knew you wouldn't." He goes, "What do you mean you knew? Why would you let me do that? And you knew you would." Well, I was kind of interested to see if you could pull it off, And that's what I mean. He would not want you to. He was very into creativity. He didn't want to spoil that creativity and paint you in a box, or put you in a box or a corner. And he wouldn't do that as a coach. He allowed you to be creative. Now sometimes he said, "Nah, now you're getting a little too crazy," but he'd let you make mistakes. And you ask him, "Why would you know?" Because you knew that wasn't going to work. Well, I had my thoughts on that, but I was just curious to see if you could pull it off. And he just, because you had to do that at Purdue to win, and he didn't want us he didn't squash your creativity. And so that helped you develop as a coach. You found out through the hard way what didn't work, and found out through that way, well, that's how that did work, and he didn't want to ever put any clamps on that.
Well, you talked about quarterback play, you being surrounded by great quarterbacks, and no doubt this year, Tommy Rittenhouse has been just outstanding for you, Coach Spack, and the year he has had. Man, heading into this season, just really when you look at the league as a whole, one of the major talking points from a lot of media talking heads was, man, I don't know how good the quarterback play is going to be in the league this year.
God, are you crazy? Everybody's got a great quarterback.
Everybody,
not just everybody has a good quarterback. This is the most unbelievable. I've never seen it like this. I mean, every quarterback has been. Yeah, I know that's what you're getting at. Everybody has. You have a very good quarterback. We saw him when he was at Murray State. He's a very good player, and our guys had a good year. And man, the kid from Youngstown is just lighting it up. I mean, he beat us by himself in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was amazing. He played really well, and I thought the quarterback in North Dakota State, and they've had some great ones, as you know, and that guy's really good now. I mean, talk about a pro prospect. I mean, he's really good. But man, there's a lot of good young ones coming too. I mean, there's just everybody has a good quarterback. It's been ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it makes your job so much harder, and all the head coaches' jobs harder when you have that type of talent in the league. But you also know, Coach Spack, from your years of being around, even as a player, yes, the fans, media types, whatever, everyone sees what happens on a Saturday, but it's what happens those other days of the week that truly lead to those results on a Saturday. For Tommy, specifically for you, what does he do Sunday through Friday, which ultimately leads to his success on Saturday, that has been a separator for him this year?
Well, he's just he studies the game, like every great quarterback I've been around has been like that. Breeze was extremely locked in and studying his opponent, studying what he's doing and in our offense. But Tommy's done a really good job. I think it was what he's done in the offseason as well. You know, our quarterback coach, Tony Peterson, who's our offensive coordinator too. Tony and I, by the way, he was a coordinator for Glenn Mason at University of Minnesota when I was at Purdue. That's how we know each other. And we locked horns a few times. But he's done a great job with Tommy. I don't know if any of us saw this coming. I thought, we'll see. But he's not the, if you saw him on the hoof, you go, oh, okay, he's okay. He's not, that doesn't do much for you, but boys, he's a good little athlete and he's a competitor and he's really developed his arm talent and his arm strength. So he can make all the throws, he's done it. He does throw well on the move, on the run. Good in the RPO game, can get rid of the ball quick and play action game. And he moves well. That's really helpful for him. And he can get back on a platform and throw when he's on the run and be accurate. So he's worked really, really hard at it. And I'm sure it's well documented. He doesn't like me talking about it, so I won't talk about it very long. But he has diabetes. He's a diabetic, and you probably read that. And he has to fight that every day. And that's something he has to deal with. And I just think that's helped him give him that edge as a competitor and is physical and mental toughness. I think because of that, that reason, he's made himself into a heck of a player because of that. He's had to overcome a lot to be here and to be a Division I player, and he doesn't look like one. But he moves and plays like one, and he's turned into a really good player for us. So yeah, he's had a really good year. I'm really proud of him, and he's kind of, you'd really like him. He's what college football is all about. Good student, good guy, good player, competitive, tough, and everything you want to. You had a guy there a couple of years ago, just like him, probably.
Yeah, Nick Baker,
the kid from Rochester. He was a good little player. I thought. He's an excellent player. I just that's what college football is about. When you see those guys that develop like Tommy, that develop into being good college players because they work so hard at it.
It's a common talking point with all of you as head coaches, Coach Spack, in terms of saying complementary football. It's what you ultimately want to play. That's the goal, to get where you want to go. Right. It really hit me watching your press conference this week when you spoke about it. You did such a great job of capitalizing on your opponent's turnovers and turning them into touchdowns. On the year, you guys are, I think you're plus 50 in terms of points off turnovers, and your difference scored 69 points off your opponent's turnovers. They've only done 17 off of your turnovers. How essential was that this past weekend, but also how big that's going to be is the recipe for success for the Redbirds moving forward?
Well, I think the bell cow for that, and I think you would agree, is those guys in green up in Fargo. You make a mistake against them, it's not a turnover, it's a touchdown. And it's not a blown assignment, it's a touchdown. They turn into touchdowns, and I think that's the one thing you can learn a lot from your opponent. But that they, more than any team I've ever played against, I swear to God, I've been against Ohio State is as good a player team as you'll ever see. I mean, they're unbelievably talented, and they're really good, and they're really physical. But a team that, when you make a mistake against it, just turns it into touchdowns. I've never seen anybody like them. And we were like that, I thought, last weekend, and we've been pretty good this year. We've capitalized on mistakes, and when those things present themselves, you have to jump all over those as a football team, and not just one part, not just your offense. It has to be your defense. It has to be your special teams. It has to be everything. Every part of your team has to put the rest of the team in good position to score, and it can be a lot of different ways. But last weekend it came together for us, anyways, and that was. And I appreciate you noticing that, because that's probably that's why that game came out that way. I've been part of games like that where you didn't score, and all of a sudden you get those kind of turnovers, but the game's 10-0. It's 10-7. Where it should have been 28-0. It should have been 35-0. Because if you're a really good football team, and I think that's what good teams do. They capitalize on the other team's mistakes and turn them into touchdowns. And unfortunately for us, we did it last week, and I didn't know that statistic, so you make me happy with that. I didn't really realize that. When I don't look at stats that much, but I knew last week was the case, but I didn't realize our season's gone like that. But that's good. So it's what we try to do.
Just so you know, I'm here to make you happy.
Yeah. Well,
So
I guess that's okay. Yeah.
well, continue to talk about your team. Look, before we switch it to your defensive side, and then I'll let you go. Obviously, Daniel Sopkowitz has been outstanding throughout his career, but you've not had him every game this season. How big was it seeing your team respond when he's been out? But then ultimately, you see the type of impact he had, as you described in your press conference. Dude was putting up video game numbers over the weekend.
Yeah, quite man. It's fun to watch. But yeah, he's obviously, you want him on the field, but we have a pretty good core of younger receivers that are starting to play better, I guess you will, and play more like we think they're going to be. They're not quite where they're going to be here. Some of them are redshirt freshmen, sophomores, but yeah, they've stepped up, and they did a really nice job. Our running game helped us a little bit with that as well, and our tight ends are got a couple of tight ends, H backs that are pretty good players that can catch the football and do some things with it. Like I said, Tommy's spread the ball around, and so there's more experience on the field now than what you would normally have. So we try to do that in practice, and we try to keep developing our younger players, or our players, not just younger players, but players who don't play as much. We try to give them reps in practice if we can to help their development, because you never know when you're going to need them, and as in this league, in this time of year, you're going to need those guys, and when you go postseason, it's even more difficult, and because you could play 3-4 more games, and you got to have guys ready to play, because you're going to probably get nicked up, and they're going to have to play. So that's really helped us, and we've gained a lot of experience, and so I think the players are called on now. I think they are a little bit better than they were, a month ago.
Look, stats are stats, Coach Spack. You watch film, and that really is the truth when it comes down when you're a football coach. One of the last things you do look at is a stat sheet. And even when you do look at you from a defensive perspective, obviously Ty Niekamp, does so much valuable things in terms of what he brings. Over 110 tackles already this year, 9 tackles for loss. But again, the day-to-day, how has he brought that defense along? Where does he help others as well and bring that value piece along with what he does from a stats perspective?
Give you permission, your teammates, I should say, have to give you permission to be a leader. And they've given him permission to be a leader. He's different than he was a year ago, a lot different than he was 2 years ago. He's a little more assertive, I guess, in his leadership in practice and in a game. He's not afraid to hurt your feelings if he needs to get your attention. And that's what, if you're really a good friend, if you're a really good teammate, you got to tell him sometimes some things that are uncomfortable. And he's comfortable being uncomfortable, and he will do that. And not many kids, in this era are like that, and he's very much tuned into what it takes to win. Ty is not a overly talented guy. He's got length. He moves well. He's got good flexibility, but his game is his toughness, his mental approach, and his football IQ, and all that stuff is very high, and he expects everybody to approach it the same way, or you're not going to be wanted, or need, is this what he expects from you? I think that's been a biggest difference in him this year than last year. He's not afraid to tell you, hey, fellas, we're not playing well enough. We got to do this, this, and this. That practice wasn't good enough. We have to do this in practice. Hey, this is not us. So I think he's been much more assertive in his leadership because our teams allowed him to be that, and they gave him permission to be the leader. And he's taken full. He's done a great job with it.
Coach Spack, another area is, we don't want to pub up the guys in green too much up north because they obviously get plenty of pub on their own. But what we've seen, of course, when you get to this time of year, why they always have success come late November, December. Them and SDSU is they're typically at home. Your team's in a great position where if you get a win on Saturday, that could potentially be where you guys could be set up to maybe get a bye, potentially host that second week. I know that's an uncontrollable, and you really somewhat downplayed it in your press conference, but how important it is that to look, playing home games in late November, early December is a huge part of this equation as well.
It is. It'd be, it'd be very nice. Obviously, that is great. But remember when we went to the national championship game in 14, we played one home game, then we played all the way in Eastern Washington in the quarterfinals, and had to go all the way to New Hampshire in the semifinals, and had to travel to Texas for the finals. So you got to be able to win on the road in this game, but it would be nice to answer your question. Obviously, that would be nice, and it's kind of it's a way you can tell, you can give your fans something. Hey, we appreciate you, and try to play at home and come watch, playoff football and here in Bloomington Normal. And I know you guys have done that in Carbondale, so you know what that's like to do, and I think it's great for your fans and great for the student body, and your team more importantly. But I don't think that's it's not overplayed at all. That's probably very true. But I think one thing about the playoffs that I think players like and I like, it's fun to go somewhere else and play sometimes, and because you think back to high school football. I don't know if you played high school football or not, but when you get in the state playoffs, the fun part of that is getting on a bus and go playing somebody else you've never played before, and that's kind of cool. And to win on the road is very really kind of really a lot of fun. But yeah, it is nice to be home. That would be really nice. But we'll see where it all lands, and like you said, we can't control that right now. All we can control is our next, and we can't control the opponent, but our next game, we got to control our performance in this next game because that's going to be important.
Coach Spack, it's not really to try to get bulletin board material for other leagues, but to piggyback off of what you just said, I think there's more excitement for teams from within the Missouri Valley of knowing when you go through that grind of a Valley schedule that it really doesn't matter where you go. You look forward to that opportunity to show the rough, the tough, the grind of going through the Missouri Valley. This league prepares you. That's why all of us every year, when you look at that bracket, you just go, I really hope they don't just make it another Valley schedule for the next couple of weeks. Cause
I know I get upset with, I'd be honest with you. I get a little upset with that, and, it, be, because this is such a good league. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. I mean, it's from top to bottom. And I'll tell you a story about Craig Bowl in 2012. We were playing out here. The winner was going to be the champion of the league. They won the game, but before the game, he said to me, he goes, "Brock, you're going to get in the playoffs this year." I said, "God, I hope so." And he goes, "Let me tell you what, you can win a national championship." I looked around and said, "Really? Think we can?" He goes, "Absolutely." Because you'll find out when in this league gets you ready to play in the tournament, in the playoffs, because the league is so good and it'll be a big difference. Well, we played our first game that we had bye, and so did App State. But we played App State, and it happened to be App State's last game in FCS because we won the game. And we were down there. And I said, while that game was going on, I said, Coach Bowl was right. I said, he was right. I mean, because our team was, we're just a little quicker, just a little more physical. It's just the physicality of our conference is just different. And reminds me of the Big Ten. A very, very much a very physical league, and it's just a little different. He was absolutely correct, and you're correct. And I think anybody who coaches in this league and anybody who's involved in football in our conference knows that. And it's not an arrogant thing. It's just a fact. It's a fact. And you come out of this conference, you're battle tested. You're game ready. You're playoff ready when you come out of this league because, it's a tough deal now to get it. It's tough to get in the playoffs out of this league. I mean, it's hard. So.
It's really hard, and it's why I want to end on this question with you, Coach Spack, is, again, you know how hard it is to win and to win at a consistent level and to have a school invest in yourself and say, hey, we want you to still lead the way. What has impressed you most about what Coach Hill has done at Southern, and then really in turn of what you like about his team here this final week that you're going to be going up against on Saturday?
Well, I think Nick he's always been very creative. He's a really good offensive mind. But I think he's developed a type of player that plays at Southern Illinois. And there's a kid that and I think that's been that they're athletic. They've got length, and if they're not long, they're fast and big up front. There's a system of evaluation of players. He's done a really good job with that. And obviously I think they stick to their system and they have a system. Great coaches have systems, and I think he has a very good system and how they play and the way they play. So always been very impressed with him. I didn't know him until he became the coach there. Obviously, a lot of people around here knew him as a player,
yeah.
and I've been very impressed with the type of players he has, and good staff, and just a really good place, and a team that's always a handful, and we expect that again on Saturday. So he's done a great job there, and I look forward to seeing how that develops in the years to come, because I think he's getting better and better with age, like all of us do.
Coach Spack, my last thing for you is I'm a little disappointed when you hopped on the Zoom. I thought you would have your white pullover that you've had for like the last 5 weeks in your press conference. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah, I sit right over here. I got it right here.
There you go.
Right here,
see?
Right
I was going to ask you, is it just by coincidence, or is Coach Spack a little superstitious?
I just came out of the film room. It gets hot in there, and too many bodies, it's small, and damn it makes me mad. But I do wear that thing a lot. Yeah. Sorry.
No, always, Coach Spack. It's great to catch up with you. Look forward to seeing the game on Saturday. We appreciate the time, Coach Spack.
Great talking to you. Thank you. Have a safe trip up here. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Appreciate Coach Spack taking time to hop on, being our final coach this year to hop on the podcast as SIU will close out the regular season this weekend. And as we have described and tried to set Saluki Nation up, is the possibility with a win on Saturday, 0 for Southern to go to the postseason. It's not quite 0, but it is very small. Southern's going to need a ton of help, along with a win on Saturday to beat the Redbirds to extend the season past this weekend. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a ton to play for on Saturday against Illinois State. These in-state rivalry games always bring enough ammunition, a lot of juice to it, and that's what the Salukis will have an opportunity on Saturday against Illinois State at noon. But now let's transition into our Saluki interview with Senior Jay Jones, and we begin with just a tremendous day for him on Saturday at Saluki Stadium. It just came up short in the 5 overtime effort against South Dakota. You did everything in your power, man, in that game to try to get you guys over the hump. 3 receptions, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns in the game, a tremendous one-handed grab as well. Just for you, Jay, what I know it stinks, right? You're going to think of probably the loss more than anything, but to still have a game like that had to be so special for you on Senior Day.
Yes, sir. It meant a lot to me, honestly, because I feel like I've been so close all year to actually getting to that 100-yard games. I probably could have had more. But yeah, it meant a lot, especially because my mom and sister got to come to that game that day, and that's probably the only game they came to all season. And yeah, I mean, obviously it stinks we lost. I would probably rather win I really care more about the wins than the stats.
Yeah.
But yeah, it meant a lot, especially my senior day. I was just talking to the boys too, like this is our last time, possible last home game. Let's go out with a bang. So
The emotions of the game and the aftermath of when you guys pour everything into the game. I know this is really a obvious question with an obvious answer, but how did you handle your emotions after that game on Saturday? Just knowing, man, it was just such a whirlwind from the emotions of the game, and of course, knowing that's your last time playing on that field.
I feel like usually I always tell everybody to be neutral, but I mean I was kind of all over the place a little bit.
Yeah.
It kind of stuck with me. I honestly since until Monday. I mean, it was till Sunday, and Coach came in and said we got to wash it and move on to the next week, which I think I'm pretty good at. But yeah, that one stung a little bit. I really wanted to go to. I really wanted to have a great chance to go to the playoffs, and that meant a lot to me. That game, just like every other game. But at the end of the day, the day got to end. So
Yeah, well, and as we talked about, you guys get another opportunity this week. You get a chance to beat Illinois State. You never know what can happen.
Mm-hmm.
There could be an opportunity to still possibly play. It's just out of your guys' control where it was. But before that, I want to get into just your time here, Jay, and we've had some conversations just on the side about it. I mean, your first year here was during COVID.
yeah.
And you think of how far, just how much has changed in this world since then. But for you as well, like if you could go back and talk to Jathan then in 2020, like what would that conversation be like between the two of you now if you got to talk to the younger self when you first got here during COVID?
Number one is probably just like everybody probably tell me, so just to lock in.
Yeah.
I mean, I was young, I feel like, but if I would have known, I would tell myself to take more advantage of the resources I've had. I would say that, hit the weight room a little bit more. I wasn't playing that much, so I really should have just did more behind the scenes to help myself for my future, I feel like. And I kind of you learn lessons over time, and I learned my lesson obviously over time, and I started doing that a little bit more, and now you kind of see the results.
Did you ever think about, you know what, maybe I just need to go somewhere else, or maybe I just need to be done with football? Because you mentioned you went a long time without getting a ton of reps, yet you stuck through it.
Mm-hmm.
And you definitely reaped the benefits this year of being a consistent guy for DJ and Coach Hill in the offense. Was there ever a time that you doubted it? I mean, how has your path been here in just terms of that mindset for you, Jay?
I'd be lying if I wouldn't say if I didn't think about it. But, I mean, when I first committed here, it was because I thought it felt like a family feel. It was also close to the home. And one thing that always stuck with me throughout my life was my mom told me never to quit, to always finish something I start. So that's like a thought of mine when I think of something. I always thought I just didn't do enough. It wasn't more so that it was the coaches or that was other factors. It was more so like maybe I'm just not doing enough to put myself in a position to, succeed. And that was just my mentality, really, just to find ways. How can I stack more days? How can I get better here and there? And just control what I can control.
Sometimes, Jay, no doubt it sticks with you when you realize, hey, this is your last go around. Sometimes that's motivation enough to really flip things. But is there a moment that you felt like in the off season where you're like, I really like where my headspace is at. I really have improved in terms of just my work ethic on the field, in the weight room. Like, was there a specific moment, or was it just, hey, I know this is going to be a really good year for me, really from the start?
Yeah, I kind of felt like I was going to have a really good year from the start. I was confident even since last season, honestly. I felt like I was the best me. I was more locked in. I knew exactly what to do. I was putting in extra work. I was trying to do everything I could. And I just had the confidence. I just had to go put it together. I just need a little my opportunity. I felt like, and I always, I pray before every game, and for me to go out there and take advantage of all the opportunities that God gives me. So when the opportunities come, I just take advantage.
You have this year, and it was so great. First drive of the game for you to be able to score on senior day, all of those emotions. But offensively, you guys have had a really good year. But there's also been those moments where it's not a lot. It's very small. I was talking about with Coach Hill earlier in the week. It's like those few drives where you just can't quite finish them have proved to have been very critical in some of these games in recent weeks. How do you take in the year, Jay, of offensively, there's no question. That's been a strength for you guys as a football team. You guys have been good offensively. But it's like, man, it's just one or two things, a few games could have really flipped some of these games. And we'd be having a completely different conversation right now than what we are.
For me, like I said, I always try to just say control what I could control. I mean, anybody could say what they would have done or like if that was me, but it's just we can't control that. So, I mean, I got full confidence in my guys. I thought even before the season we could win however many games we wanted to. But yeah, like I tell everybody again, like just for me, it's just to stay neutral. I never want to get too high, never get too low, because you never really know what can happen. But once you stay neutral, it's just I feel like it helps a little bit with the emotions of the game, and it helps you stay calm, not to, help me just stay locked in. I feel.
Well, I can attest to you being even keeled. I see you at practice darn near every day, and this is the same guy you are, and especially even on game day. Man, take me through that one-handed grab on Saturday, Jay. I mean, I know you're just balls in the air. You got to find a way to bring it in. But man, that is a highlight reel grab that I'm going to remember for a long time. Just for you as it came in, was it one immediately that you knew? All right, the only chance I got is the one hand this thing.
I think at this point it's just natural. I've been doing it so much at practice. I finally got a chance to be able to do it in the game. And that's funny. That's because that's exactly what Coach Grant has said. He was like, you finally got one in the game. Because I think I had one or two, maybe three in off season in these last few practices. So, it's just natural right there. I feel like sometimes for me, I feel like I can't get two hands, and my next best option is just to go with one. And I'm just confident in my hands at the end of the day. So
I remember catching up with you back during fall camp when we had all these games in front of us, and I asked you a similar question to this, but now as you're towards the tail end here, Jay, what's Coach Grant meant to you, and how has he really helped embody the characteristics that you've wanted to embody this year, and especially those skill traits that you've been able to show in a game?
Honestly, he means a lot to me. He's also like family almost. We had a lot of conversations, and he's set a lot of goals for me, and I told him I'm gonna do everything I can for him and for me to go out there and prove him right, and myself and everybody else in our coaching staff that I can help impact this program. So, he's had nothing but confidence in me from the start, and I really appreciate him for that, helping me and also helping me get put in a good position to go perform at the highest level. And
You've been around football a long time, Jay. As I said, your first year in this thing here at SIU is back in 2020, which means you've had a lot of teammates through your time. I know the ultimate goals of this year's group may not be attained of where you wanted them to be attained, but at least in the everyday, the practices, the locker room conversations, the guys within your position group in the wide receiver room, to you guys as an offensive unit, how much fun has it been to be with this team this year? Honestly,
this is probably the most fun I've had since I've been here, on a real note. This is a really close group of guys, just the whole team. It's one of the closest teams I've ever been a part of, and it's just a lot of personalities. It's we just mesh, I should say. Yeah, we mesh really well, and even outside of my position group, I be talking to the O linemen, the D linemen, the corners, wherever it is. Everybody's just cool and funny, and It's a great. This is like we built a great I feel family culture here, team culture, and it's player led as well. And I think that's gonna you're gonna see the impact of that even after some of the seniors are gone.
What do you want your story to be remembered by, Jay? And what I really mean by that is you mentioned early on in the interview, hey, there were things that I wish I would have done differently, but also you hear your story and you go, man, I'm really glad I stuck it out to see what happened to me in my senior year. What would you want people to think, hey, when they think of Jathan Jones, when they think of Jay Jones and his time here as a Saluki, what are maybe one or a couple of things that you want them to go, yep, that's what I want them to take away from my experience here?
The thing I want people to remember me by is that, for one, I'm just a great guy. I don't really talk that much.
You don't.
But I try to lead by example, and hopefully a lot of people notice that. But like if we're really close, I think I'm a great leader. I kind of like try to hold people up to their standards that they have for themselves, or that I think they should have for themselves as well. That's number one, I feel like. But just also that like I'm always be like family when you think of me. Like he's somebody I can rely on. He's a consistent guy. I'm just the type of guy to hold accountability for myself and for others. I just feel like I'm more so of like just like a good people's person. I'm not a loud rah-rah guy, but yeah, just a God-fearing man as well.
Which is why I think we just need to get you your own podcast, man. You know, you're so loud and boisterous. You know, like we just have to get that emotion more out of Jay Jones. Mm-hmm. You know, we'll get that. We'll get that.
It's funny because I always thought like I would do a podcast if I had the setting and the equipment for it, but until then,
hey, you know what? We'll see what we can do here, Jay, before you officially graduate and leave a proud Saluki. Get you out of here on this note, man. I really do appreciate the time you coming by. This weekend against Illinois State, I think it's pretty simple of knowing, hey, this is the last guaranteed opportunity game you have this year. How much does it mean to you, and how much you guys that are out there at practice each and every day this week, that you want to make sure that if it is your last game this year and your last game as a Saluki, you want to make sure that it's one that you leave very proud about.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir, of course. And for me, the main thing is I don't want to think too much about the end until the end of the game. But right now, for me, I'm in the process of just trying to win and put us in a great position to go to the playoffs, if that may be. And also at practice, I'm just have fun, like every day. Have fun with my guys, you know, because this could, if it is the last game, I wanna go out having the time of our lives. I don't want nobody to be sad or anything, you know. Just be ourselves and go do what we know we can do, control the controllables, and go out with a bang, have fun.
And score a few touchdowns too, right? Yeah.
That's the number one goal.
Yeah, that is the number one goal, to get points. And, man, you guys have done it this year. Jay, you know, as kind of say, you know, somewhat jokingly too, but it's been great to see you. It truly has been great to see you mature, number one, to grow into a tremendous young man, but even more so how much you have improved as a player. It's been just amazing this year to just see how not just one or two games, I mean, consistently you've been able to be reliant on. And now anytime that ball's in your area, we know you're going to catch that darn ball. And to me, that's what's been the most fun this year, is to just see the confidence level in yourself, the confidence level in your teammates. Like, have you felt that too? That I think everyone has always known the capability you've had. I don't want to sell it and say, man, Jay doesn't have it. No, I mean, ever since I've been here, I was like, look out for Jay, man. That guy's got everything he wants and everything that anybody would want. But has this year been different just in terms of, I mean, you just feel everybody's on board and like, wow, like, this was just an awesome year in every aspect for me.
I mean, for sure, especially like the last game. You can even hear the fans. I could feel it from the fans as well, how confident they feel in me. And, you know, it's nothing but love for everybody. I just want to thank God at the end of the day, because without him, all this wouldn't be possible. And I'm just happy to see, all the relationships I made and all of the things I've done to get here pay off. So
that does it for the Saluki Football Podcast this week. Big thank you to Jay Jones and the head coach of the Illinois State Redbirds, Brock Spack, for taking time to join us. It will be a fun Saturday in Bloomington Normal, Illinois. Mike Trude, Coach Poore, and Larry Larson will be on the call on Saturday. Hate to miss the final weekend of the season as our travel, the crossover season strikes again. We'll be down in Jacksonville, Florida with Saluki basketball before they tip on Sunday in Jacksonville against Delaware for their MTE, which means this will be the last setting that you will see us talk Saluki football this year. As Coach Hill, his team, say it each and every week. It's a broken record, but I hope everybody truly understands how thankful I know I am for this program, the access they give us. Not everybody gives this level of access. We are spoiled for that, and it's why when you get towards the end of a season, it really stinks when it does come to an end. Next week, we're going to try to do some season recap stuff, intermixing with more travel with yours truly and trying to get home and at least have a day to gather that content for you before moving on to Thanksgiving. But thankful for all of you in Saluki Nation for following us each and every week, and we hope this piece of content, which was added this year, you enjoyed and look forward to us expanding it even more into next football season. But still got the final regular season game on Saturday, and if the Salukis can find a way to win, say your prayers. Hopefully there can be one long shot answer to keep this thing going, but we all also have to be realistic that this will most likely be the last week we get to see Saluki football on the field in this version this season. And man, take advantage of it and enjoy it. That does it for this podcast. We hope you enjoyed it, Saluki Nation. Again, kickoff will be Saturday at noon. The Saluki radio coverage with Larry Larson, Mike Trude, and Pat Poore will begin at 11 a.m. Central Time. Until Saturday, Saluki Nation, as always, go Dogs.
This has been Saluki Royalty, the official podcast for Saluki Athletics. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review however you listen. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Saluki Sports Network.